What's happening, team? We're back. We're around Leeds talking today about pressure passing. That is the concept of the week. If you've not seen our videos from this week, check back from Monday. There's a whole series of pressure passes for you to learn and to make a part of your game. Okay. Today I want to talk about why we want to have a pressure pass game. It's not for everybody. Okay, we understand there's two types of passing. General terms. There's mobility passing and there's pressure passing. Okay, mobility passing is using our mobility to beat our opponent, okay, using speed and angles, and pressure passing is using that. It's using pressure to blast past and cut through our opponent's guard. So mobility passing tends to move around the guard, pressure passing tends to go through the guard. Why would we want a pressure passing game? Well, we definitely want a pressure passing game if our opponent's faster than us, because it allows us to slow the game down. Okay, it's critically important, particularly when you get to my age. Got these young whippersnappers flying around, these crazy guards. We want to lock them down. We want to slow them down. Another good reason for people maybe a little bit older doing jiu-jitsu, it's less energy. Okay, mobility passing, running about on your feet, it's tiring, man. Okay, so we want to slow the game down, put all of our weight on our opponent, and slow it down. On that point, the other reason why we want pressure passing, we want them to feel uncomfortable, right? I think it was Fabio Gugel said, when you put your opponent in a bad spot, stop. That's what we want to do in pressure passing. We create pressure and pain and a claustrophobia for our opponent, and then we just keep it there, okay? And they will want their guard to be passed, all right? And that's what we want to kind of create. We want to create this kind of battle of wills where we beat our opponent and we take his soul away, okay? And he gives us the pass because he'd much rather us pass the guard than stay where he is. Okay, so uses less energy, slows things down, and breaks our opponent's will. Okay, there's other reasons as well. How do we create pressure? Well, I think in the early days when you start in jiu-jitsu, you will squeeze a lot, you'll pull people in a lot, and you feel like you're creating pressure by squeezing them in. Okay, that's not how we create pressure in jiu-jitsu. Okay, the most important part of your body to create pressure, your toes. Your toes create a lot of pressure in jiu-jitsu because they are the driving force pushing your weight into your opponent, okay? So you must have your toes working for you, all right? If you've got your toes underneath here like this, you can't create a driving force. They've got to be tucked underneath and driving you forward, okay? Toes, very important. Let's move up the body, the knees. Very rarely you're going to create pressure or enough pressure with your knees on the mat. All right, you've got to get used to having your toes engaged and your knees off the mat, driving forward, placing all of your weight into your opponent. Okay, so toes, knees, hips. Your hips have to create an angle. Okay, to create a situation where we're forcing all of my body weight through one channel. Okay, and a lot of times in pressure passing, that's the shoulders. Okay, but it might be the head. We want to direct all of our force through one small angle. It's almost like the stiletto principle, right? A high heel, a stiletto. If you put your hand down and someone stamps on that, and say it goes through your hand. I've never tried it, but that's what they say. But because all the weight's through one small avenue, it creates maximum force. And that's what we're trying to do with our body. Okay, we're trying to find one place on our body, a small area, be it our shoulder or our head, and project all of our weight through that point. So this week we looked at the over-under pass. Let's have a look at that again. Coach T loves it when we do this. Okay, so we'll get to this position. We'll make sure when we're in the over-under pass that my toes are tucked under. We'll make sure that my knees are off the floor. And you'll see the position of my hips change. So if I'm in the over-under pass and just straight forward, there's a fair amount of pressure, but the moment I turn my hips, now the pressure increases. Okay, it's all being directed through my shoulder into my opponent. Okay, I'm driving off the mat and then pushing my weight into my opponent, almost driving him down the mat. Okay, and that should be constant, that pressure of driving into him. Okay, creating a situation where my opponent's bearing all my weight. So use your toes, take your knees off the mat. In fact, take everything off the mat. if you can, and direct all of your weight into your opponent. Turn your hips to direct your weight through one small area of your body into your opponent, okay? It should feel uncomfortable for them. You will feel them feeling uncomfortable. You will hear noises that you're not supposed to hear, okay, as they deal with the fact that they can't breathe and that their diaphragm is being compressed. When you hear that, good, that's where you stay. Okay, we don't rush. We slow down at that point and we are methodical. We work in millimeters to move towards a full pass. Okay, we're not in a rush. Make sure you're systematic with your gripping sequences when you're in the pressure pass. Okay, again, the overrun is a classic example. I've got the pant grip, I'm through, I'm on the belt underneath the leg. When I get over the leg, I then work on the outside, controlling the hips, and only when I've climbed an inch to my way up to the underneath the shoulder line, maximum pressure going from the shoulder, will I release the pant grip and do the same on the other side. So don't be in a rush to let go. We want to stay connected. That's a good point as well, just to know. The reason we want to grip, just lie down quickly, is that if I've got a grip of my opponent, okay, they can only push me to the length of my arm. Okay, so as he goes to frame, he can only push me to the length of my arm. Now, if my arms are bent, he can only push me to the length of my bent arms, right? So he starts to pull and push, and I start to pull. And generally speaking, we have a stronger pull than a push, particularly if we do jiu-jitsu. And if my knees are off the ground and my toes are in, there's no way he's pushing me away here. Okay, from a bench press position, there's no way. Okay, if I don't have the grip, he can push me away, he can push me off, he can push me to the side and relieve that pressure. So when we're pressure passing, we must have grips. Okay, we must pull our opponent in, thinking about getting our elbows to our own hips. We talk about this a lot. Super strong position. Okay, and locking that position in and driving forward. Okay, one of the parts of our body, if we talked about the toes, the opposite end of our body is the head, and this is an underutilized kind of piece of equipment when we talk about adding pressure to our opponent. Getting good head position, okay, whereby I'm under my opponent's chin and inside his inside space, and we've talked about that again in one of our concept videos, is really advantageous. If I can open my opponent's body using my head, you'll create access to other areas of inside space. All right? A good example again would be like the leg weave pass I did the other day. Let's turn all the way around, please. You can see the head here. So my leg weave here up, my grips are good, so he can't push me away. My head, look at my knees, look at my toes, my head will drive underneath my opponent's head and open up this inside space. Invariably, his arms will come with it, and this will give me access to inside space in here as well. Okay, so use the head intelligently. Don't be here. When he can tuck his head as well and get better inside position on me, drive the head. The whole body should be projecting through that position, putting my opponent flat on his back. All right? So lots to think about there when it comes to pressure passing, but remember why we're doing it. We're slowing our opponent down. We're slowing the game down. You have more time to think. Okay, so it's really good for people learning jiu-jitsu. Slow it down. We provide maximum pressure on our opponent, giving us an advantage in the fight. Okay, and it's just less energy. So why wouldn't we want to do it? They should be working hard to stop us, and we should be chilling out, smashing them to bits. That's how it should feel. All right? Let us know how you get on. We'd love to see some videos of you smashing your partners, okay? Be nice, okay? They're going to do it to you as well. But send us some videos of you working really hard on your pressure passing, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.